Thank you for letting me tell that joke.
That was a bad joke.
It was a great joke, and you know it. You've heard that joke a billion times.
Well, yes, I have.
So, NASCAR. When we think about NASCAR, we think about this legacy brand that has this niche audience of crazy fans. And what people don't realize is that NASCAR, like NFL, has been really pushing boundaries in terms of using technology to make the race experience a lot more engaging. NASCAR is smart, very smart. Tell me a little bit about your internal organization. Like, do you have a CMO? Do you have a community manager? What does it look like, the structure? We'll start with that.
Sure. NASCAR Digital is really, honestly, a startup in its own right. We just came into existence really in January of 2013. So we farmed all of our digital rights out for 10, 11, 12 years. Turner Sports actually controlled and programmed our entire digital portfolio. So the leadership team at NASCAR realized this was way too important of a communication channel, of an engagement vehicle, to have a third party operating on its behalf. So we took those rights back in-house and we built the team. We're headquartered in Charlotte with some folks in Daytona and New York. And we are part of the larger NASCAR kind of corporate ecosystem now. So we report up through NASCAR, but they kind of give us the autonomy to do what we need to do to create a great digital fan experience.
And how does Colin and his team, how do they not Colin, Jason, I'm so sorry. How does it all work together? How do you use them and their talents?
So we actually use a lot of outside vendors who have a lot of great experience in the digital space and in the mobile space. You know, it's a lot more efficient for us, especially from a mobile development and engineering perspective, to use outside development with partners like Telescope, who have a lot of experience in those specific categories and capabilities that we're looking for. It's very easy for us to go that route. It's also very safe for us to do that, as opposed to trying to build something that's going to be live for the first time for something like the Daytona 500, which is our Super Bowl of racing, which happens as the first event of our season every year, as opposed to the last event. So it's good to have experts in that space to help you through some of those tense moments.
You don't want to be breaking the build on accident on race day.
Not on the Daytona 500.
Else do that.
Yes. Well, yeah.
So tell me a little bit, Jason, about what you guys have built, like the mobile products that you've worked on for NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, we're really experts in kind of how to engage audiences from a kind of primary event, drive that engagement, you know, fuel it through social, and kind of bring some of that content back to either a digital screen or a kind of TV screen. So really around NASCAR, we've worked a lot around how to kind of use voting, especially as an engagement tool, and really advise NASCAR about how to put some of that control, how to motivate, you know, the audience to kind of participate. So, you know, one of the things we did was kind of give fans the ability to dictate some of the things that happened around races, so they could actually impact in one specific race, pick how many laps, pick the kind of pit stop strategy, some of those sorts of things. So really putting the power and the control back in the hands of the audience. And making sure that experience can function across all digital. I mean, clearly, making sure people can experience that across any digital platform now is a massive thing. So, yes, driving the mobile app, but making sure that experience works wherever people want to participate. It's a key thing for us. So.
Yeah, and NASCAR fans, they just eat that engagement up. If y'all don't know, NASCAR folks, they get just very emotionally involved in these races and the drivers. They follow what happens with the pit stops and the number of laps and stuff like that. So it's really cool. When we talk about second screen experiences, Twitter and Facebook are doing a lot around trying to understand that engagement and really tap into it. Did you get any lessons or cues about where to go from, you know, NASCAR fans on Twitter and Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a fairly robust social audience, about 8 million strong. So as you can imagine, during a race, there's a lot of chatter that happens. It's all positive. They never say anything bad about NASCAR or the driver that put their favorite driver into the wall and knocked him out of the race.
They talk trash about drivers all the time.
So what we have done actually is to harness all of that conversation activity. We actually partnered with HP and built a fan and media engagement center inside of our hub in Charlotte, where all of that social conversation comes in. It's our primary listening tool. It's our primary listening vehicle. We also combine that with traditional media conversation that's happening. So it really allows us to get a pulse of what the fan base thinks, whether it's about a race, whether it's about a sponsor, whatever that case might be. So harnessing that conversation every weekend, and there's a lot of it, is great for us. The insights that we learn, as well as the ability to react to what that conversation is, has been hugely important for our senior staff as well.
I'm finding the good stuff, right? You know, filtering through and finding the right content that you want to use from the users is a kind of key thing as well, I think, and bringing that into your digital assets rather than just kind of taking anything. So listening tools and kind of using that as a way of driving rich content that can fit into the NASCAR experience.
Now, I know a lot of these folks out here want to know, what kinds of tools do you use for filtering those conversations and really getting meaning out of them?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the whole reason why we built the Fan and Media Engagement Center. There was so much conversation, there was so much, positive and negative sentiment, and how do you filter through that? So we just didn't have the tools, so we spent a lot of time with HP that has listening technology to help us do that. So again, it's another instance where NASCAR goes out, finds a good partner who has a lot of experience in that space and kind of building this solution technology for what you're trying to solve. And we literally built it hand in hand with HP to do that because we just didn't have the capabilities in-house.
Yeah. It's a really nice luxury to be able to create your own bespoke listening technology. I know a lot of folks are kind of reliant on, the less customized things that are available.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're a startup, but we're a well-funded startup, which helps because, as you guys know, development and building these things out is never as inexpensive as you would like for it to be.
Oh yeah, always over time, always over budget.
Yes.
That's the life.
Yes.
Let's cry some tears. So now we talk about NASCAR and how well-funded you guys are. That means that there are also expectations for creating real revenue. What are the business goals for the mobile offerings? This isn't just a fun little playground, is it?
Yeah, it's a good question. We, about 60 to 65% of our traffic is coming in on race day through a mobile device.
65?
That's correct.
That's incredible.
It's a large shift from where it used to be, 3-4 years ago. Mobile probably causes 75% of our headaches on a weekly basis. Just trying to manage all of the different platforms, all the different devices, all the different feeds that are going into all the different devices and the applications that we have. But at the end of the day, we want to create a great fan experience. After having said all that, only 10-15% of our top line revenue actually comes from mobile and mobile sponsorship and mobile subscription. So it's a great opportunity for us. It's a huge growth opportunity, possibly a huge revenue driver one day. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're creating a great fan experience. If you don't, obviously they're not going to continue that relationship, or at least that relationship through that mobile device, which is where we want them.
Yeah, and obviously Sprint has a Sprint Unlimited program, the program I spoke about before, where fans get to vote for kind of the impact the race day, and that's sponsored by Sprint, and people can vote at limited times. It fits in with what they want. They can double their votes for kind of certain rewards like sharing or downloading the mobile app and voting through that, and that's been very successful. So I think there's ways that kind of we've worked together to tie in the experience with what Sprint as a kind of key sponsor kind of wants also.
Okay, do you ever feel like there's a tension between the business goals and the community engagement goals sometimes? I saw a little smile over there. That's a yes.
Well, look, I think it's always a matter of working creatively to fit those things together, right? Mm-hmm. There's always commercial considerations from sponsors. We see that on all the programs we do with a lot of media companies. We work with lots of the big carriers around programs like American Idol, The Voice, some of those things. And I think there's always, ways of creatively working to kind of fit those things in. So yeah, I think from a community perspective, clearly most people would not have any sponsorship or advertising kind of around their content, but I think there's always ways of kind of working those things in so it feels more integrated and feels like it's part of the program. And I think, again, Sprint Unlimited is a great example of that, where it really fits with their goals of trying to drive an unlimited, kind of data program.
I think doing that in a fan-friendly way is it's a magical moment when you can make that happen. Yeah. Speaking of fans, how have you taken this input and your knowledge of what fans want and created an interactive, tailored experience based on that?
Yeah, the good news is our fan base is very passionate,
Very vocal.
very vocal.
You've got a treasure in that. I mean, a lot of the folks out here, they have to deal with audiences that are mostly passive, and then the people who speak up are kind of the fringe weirdos.
Yep.
I mean, brand ambassadors.
We have brand ambassadors as well, yes. You know, our sport is very unique. It's especially when you relate what we're doing on the track versus what you see on television, because the facilities are so huge, the cars are moving so fast, there's so much happening at any given time that it's really difficult to capture all of that for, you know, one individual user perspective. So the mobile applications and the second screen experience really allows our fans to kind of tailor and customize what they want to do, kind of who they want to watch. If they have a favorite driver in Jeff Gordon, they can be all Jeff Gordon all the time, even though he may not necessarily be kind of the showcase driver at the time on television. So we've kind of given them the tools to personalize their experience, and they just dive right in and do it. We get tons of feedback, whether it's through, directly through the mobile applications, through, on-site feedback, through the social channels of what more they would like to see, and then we have to try to evaluate, the business goals behind trying to, they want everything. The super fans want access to everything. They want to know what gum they're chewing before the race and what they're drinking after the race, and at a certain point, it gets a little creepy if you're not careful.
It do.
Well, the passion's so huge around sport. Like you said, and I think we see across all our programs that sport generally generates the greatest engagement, and of course it's also a live experience for people, and that's much easier from a kind of interactive point of view to kind of tap into and actually give people a real two-way experience. So I think sport always sees the greatest engagement levels for us, and I think there's so much with NASCAR, there's so much content from the kind of telemetry that's involved, all the data, all the camera feeds that you can access, things like that. So I think being able to tailor that experience, like you said, so you can drive, if you like, you can kind of take part with the driver who's your kind of main focus, is kind of a natural step. And actually, as Colin said, they just keep wanting more and more of that. And I think you can tailor that level to the super fan, to the people that are kind of more casual as well, according to what level of engagement and interactivity they actually want.
We have so much access. It's you can literally pre-race, go and be in the pits and be in the garage, and actually you'll just be walking down the garage and walking down pit road, and drivers will be walking by you, and the ability to give everybody that access through the mobile device, through our mobile applications, has paid great dividends for us, not only from a business perspective, but just creating that unique fan experience. If you can't be at the track, or if you're out running errands on a Sunday afternoon, you can still kind of feel like you're right there and be in the car with them, which is very big for us.
Oh, it would be like being backstage with Beyonce.
Sure.
It's like that level for NASCAR fans. So we're coming down to our last few minutes. What I want you guys to do, because we have people from all kinds of sizes of companies and verticals, what are some fairly agnostic takeaways, like lessons you learned the hard way, and advice that you would give based on that?
Wow. Keep it simple. I think we're going to start a usability lab at a couple retirement homes, and just if your 75-year-old mother can do it, then probably most of your fan base can do it. We have so much content, and we tried to give everybody full access to that content via that mobile device, and it was really, really hard. It was confusing, and it was all there. It was just difficult to find. So we actually had to go back after we launched the NASCAR mobile app the first time. Year 2, we had to completely rebuild it from scratch to make sure that people had the appropriate easy access that we wanted them to have. So start simple and build your way out there, no matter how much content you have, no matter how much you're trying to deliver that message to them, because if you don't, the expectation, it has to be fast, it has to be easy, and if it's not, we just see people, we just lose them right away. So so we're in a good spot now, but keep it simple.
Right on.
Yeah,
From a technical perspective too, what are some of the lessons that you could share?
Well, firstly, if your technology can't deliver in terms of kind of speed and things like that, if your technology can't deliver in terms of capacity, then you've got a real problem. So the experience has to function for the consumers. So we see a huge impact when people are kind of voting or doing something like that, interacting at the same time. Your technology needs to be able to deliver that experience to the customers. And we try and look at 4 things of motivating engagement. So can people impact the kind of the narrative, if you like, the race? Can they win something or get some reward? Can they maybe get some VIP experience that makes them feel like they're part of an exclusive club? And maybe can they get some sort of fame factor? Can they get their name up in lights in some way? And if you can do one or all of those things, usually you're motivating people to participate. And the last thing I'd kind of say on that is the experiences that people have through their PC or through their tablet or through their phone are very different. So tailoring the experience of those things is really crucial also. And I think we've seen multiple examples where we've tried to adapt maybe an experience from desktop to mobile that doesn't work. So they're very kind of different mediums and people use them different ways.
Okay, so you heard it first here. Keep it simple, customize it for the device, and make your users feel special. I have time for exactly one question. Who's going to shout one out? Y'all are just being some shy little violets today. Anybody? Any questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, shout it on out. Here, we have a mic.
So a big part of what you're talking about is communicating the NASCAR experience to fans who are outside the stadium at home. Have you guys thought about synergies with fans who are in the stadium? Have like a second screen experience for fans who are in the pits watching the race?
It is probably the #1 goal that we are striving to attain. We have a very unique, difficult situation in that these facilities that we race in are so massive, 200, 270 acres, some of them. So, we actually have a traveling circus of engineers and fiber optics that we have to take into all these places. The control compound for each race every weekend, it would blow your mind. So it's a huge challenge for us, and it's a huge issue that we're trying to solve because we can provide them a great experience when they're sitting on the couch watching television or watching the race, but as soon as they come to the track, it gets a lot more difficult because the connectivity there is just very difficult to harness. So that is one of our top 3 stated goals, all the way up to the chairman himself, for us as a collective industry to figure out.
I think we're going to see that in general across stadia. I think everyone's trying to wire their stadium. We actually do work directly for Sprint around their Sprint experience, and the connectivity is a real issue for everybody concerned. So, I think you'll see a lot more of the event kind of management where people can get comments or pictures to a kind of big screen, and there's a lot more kind of community activity at all sorts of entertainment and sports events. But that's a real challenge in terms of the actual connectivity in the stadium. I mean, you probably know when you go to a major event, even texting somebody is sometimes tricky. So trying to do something that's a bit richer is difficult.
Especially when like 40,000 people are trying to do the same thing, or 100,000 people.
Exactly.
Well, gentlemen, we are so out of time, but I really, really appreciate, oh, that was a bangle. I appreciate your being here, and thanks for letting me chat with you about NASCAR.
Thank you.
Give him a hand.
Thank you.
Give him a little, woo!